Before we dive into this video, full disclosure, Google was nice enough to provide this device for my honest thoughts and feedback. This review was made possible through the Gift from Google campaign. With that said, this is my review of the Google Pixel 6a. So here we are. I've had the Google Pixel 6a for a little over 2 months now, and I'm still not sure how I feel about this device. I have to admit that I originally thought that this phone was going to be a total snooze fest when it was first announced. I was definitely wrong for thinking that, because in my use, I can comfortably say that the Pixel 6a is one of the best Android phones that you can buy for under $500. And if you can get it for less than that, it's almost definitely an insta-buy. In the grand scheme of things, I have to realize that I have to temper my expectations for a phone in the price range that this phone is in. And I have to bring all of you my thoughts on the device itself and not draw comparisons to other, much more expensive smartphones. The Pixel 6a has the same Google Tensor processor as the Pixel 6 and Pixel 6 Pro. And from what Google says, it's not underclocked or handicapped in any way. It's the same exact chip that they use on their flagship phones. It also has 6 gigs of RAM, which is quite impressive for a device in this price range, and it comes with 128 gigabytes of storage. The back of the phone is made out of a high quality plastic that really looks and feels like actual glass. I still think that it's glass every time I pick this thing up because it is such a high quality build, but it's not, it's plastic. And I think the plastic back is what led to the cost savings that Google kept from giving us the wireless charging on the Pixel 6a, which kind of sucks because I like wireless charging, but I understand. Up front, the Pixel 6a has a large 6.1-inch Full HD Plus display, and it clocks in at 60 Hz refresh rate, a max 60 Hz. That seems like it's not enough to some folks, but I assure you, well, at least for some of you, it really doesn't matter. I was using this phone as my secondary along my iPhone 13 Pro, and at least for me, I never really noticed a significant difference. That's not to say that some of you Pixel peepers out there won't notice the absence of a 120 Hz display. I'm just saying it's a great display that delivers a pretty great viewing experience. Besides, the first thing I do with all my Android devices is hop into the developer options and speed up my animations anyway, which really makes a big difference in how responsive the device feels. The colors are vibrant and the blacks are black thanks to OLED. Viewing angles could use some improvement, but it's a phone and you can control how you're looking at it pretty easily by just tilting it a little bit. Daylight viewing struggles a little bit in direct sunlight, but it's not a deal breaker for me because you can literally just put your hand over it or get into the shade. One of the best things about any Google Pixel device is the Tensor processor, and the Pixel 6a is no exception. In my experience, this chip performs great and can handle just about anything you want or need to throw at it. If you want to play more graphic intensive games or plan on editing photos or creating short form videos, the Pixel 6a can handle it no problem. That's not to say that the phone is perfect. It did heat up every once in a while, especially when I was using it outside filming video, but that usually happens to all my phones if I'm being honest with you. The sun, the enclosed body, the passive cooling, all of that add up, especially being outside in hot weather. Everyday use like surfing my social media timelines, getting stuck in the black abyss of infinitely scrolling YouTube shorts, or checking my email, it was just fine. Quite a pleasant experience actually, and that's all due to the lots and lots of screen real estate that this device provides. Now on to the battery. This is always a weird discussion for me, and in my experience in the past, it's really hard to capture what the device is capable of because battery life is really subjective because it is dependent on your specific use case. So all I can really say about the battery is that I consistently average 6 hours of screen on time using this thing as my secondary device, which is plenty of battery life for me to get through the day. I think you can probably push it to 7 or even 8 hours if you have certain settings disabled, or you just are a very light user. Just know that with enabling or disabling some of those settings, you may sacrifice some performance capabilities of the Pixel 6a. If you need more and are a power user, the 6a can charge up to 18 watts, which will get you roughly 20 to 25% of battery life in 20 to 25 minutes with a fast charger, which is not included, by the way, and is an additional cost. Moving on to the cameras, and probably the only negative thing about the phone itself, in my opinion. The Pixel 6a is using an older camera sensor, and that's a big bummer for me personally. If you've watched any of my past videos on the Pixel line, you'll notice a trend of me harping on the use of the same sensor in pretty much all of the Pixel phones. That's not to say that it doesn't produce really nice images, because it does. Computational photography is Google's bread and butter, but video really suffers. Google must have some warehouse somewhere, and they must have a metric crap ton of the same 12.1 megapixel sensor they used in the Pixel since the 2, because it made a return in the Pixel 6a. It's totally fine, it's just not good, and I personally don't really like the image it produces. You get all the cool Google post-processing, and if you like the image or have been using Pixel phones for a while, this thing is familiar and you will be right at home. Low light and nighttime photography are no problem, especially with night sight, but again, the video falls short on the Pixel 6a. So if you're looking for something that will deliver in that department, or you're trying to create short form videos like I alluded to earlier, this just doesn't cut it. I would definitely consider other options out there, or just splurge a bit more and spend another $50 and get yourself a Pixel 6. And that's just where I am with this sensor. I hate that it made a return. This is such a great phone. I'm sure they could have done something else, and that's just a big bummer in my opinion. And that's probably the only negative thing I have to say about it. The front-facing camera is just fine. It's, it's familiar, it just feels like it's something that has existed before. All right, so here's the widest field of view for the Pixel 6a, and this is being recorded at 4K 30 frames per second, because there is no option for 24 frames per second. I just want to give you an idea of what the field of view, or the crop, does. So this is at standard field of view. That's the 1 times, and then we'll go ahead and do into, or pop into, the telephoto, which is 2 times. So that gives you a good idea of what range values you will have that are the presets that are available to you within the Pixel 6a. At the widest aperture, or the widest field of view, actually, you can see that it does a pretty good job at normalizing the dynamic range in this. There is no cloud cover here, and it's doing a good job at adjusting between the shadows and all that type of stuff. So I think it is a passable camera. It's just, I wish I had more control for a camera or a phone system that kind of markets itself to creatives. That being said, this is the standard field of view, and I think it does a pretty good job. Leave me a comment down below what you think of the rear-facing shooter on its main video features. So we've made our way over to the front-facing camera. This is at 1920 by 1080. It's a rather tight close up when you're shooting with the front-facing camera in the horizontal mode, not vertical. If I pop into the 1.4 crop, that gets really close and uncomfortable, and I have to put my arm all the way out. But I want to also highlight what this camera does in benefit for vertical video. So let's hop over to that sample and we'll talk about that. So here we are with the front-facing camera on the Pixel 6a. This is in vertical mode, and then if I jump into the 1.4, it doesn't get uncomfortably close. So I think this is more driven towards the vertical video sensation stuff that's going on lately with YouTube Shorts, Stories, and Reels, all that type of stuff. So if you want to hop out to one and comment and do all that type of stuff on TikTok and all that type of thing, this is probably going to be a really good option for you. Let's close this video out and I'll give you my final thoughts. For $450, this is one of the best Android phones that you can buy. The Pixel line is my go-to recommendation device to my green bubble friends, because Google's experience is such a good one. Just overall implementation and connection between software and hardware, it just is a fantastic device. So if you're on a budget, you should definitely consider the Pixel 6a. You get the Tensor chip, pretty great display, awesome battery life, and a decent camera, even if I don't like it. If you're looking for a replacement device or are tight on cash, the Pixel 6a could quite possibly be a great solution for you. Ultimately, the 6a is a great buy for regular everyday customers that don't care too much about detailed specs or what the manufacturer does with the software on their end, whatever skin they have on top of Android. And all those customers want is a good phone that doesn't kill their bank account. But again, I have to say this, if you're considering the Pixel 6a, consider spending an additional $50 and get yourself the Google Pixel 6. I think the Pixel 6 is a much better device and a much better bang for your buck, especially considering that it's only $50 more. So with that said, the Pixel 6a is great. If you can get it for less than $450, then it's almost definitely an insta buy. Anyways, Before I close, I must disclose Google was kind enough to send me the Pixel 6a for testing and review as part of the gift from Google campaign. So without them, this video would not have been possible, and I really appreciate working with them. Well, that about does it for me in this one. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up. If you didn't, you know what to do. Thank you for taking the time to watch. I'm Tomas, and I'll catch you in the next one.